okay?
You can hold on to that if you like.
Okay. Anytime you're ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Pete Farndon.
And I'm Martin Chambers.
From the Pretenders. We're coming to you in stereo on MTV Music Television.
Yeah, that was fine. You want another one of those?
Want to do it again?
You want to try that once more?
Sure.
Yeah.
With
Okay,
feeling.
back to the top, please, John. That one.
With
Thank
feeling.
you.
Once more with feeling.
Yeah, at your leisure, anytime.
Hi, I'm Pete Farndon.
And I'm Martin Chambers from the Pretenders.
And we're coming to you in stereo on MTV Music Television.
Okay, good.
Oh, that was a nice smile. Okay, we'll look at the next one.
Hello, I'm an I'm.
Roll the prompter one more line. Yes, they can see that last word.
You'll never look at music the same way. Oh, is this together?
Yeah.
The same way. Hi, I'm,
Yeah.
you are. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Same thing. Okay.
Hi, I'm Pete Farndon.
And I'm Martin Chambers
From the Pretenders, and we're watching stereo music television, MTV. You'll never look at music the same way again.
Great. We got one more there, right?
Okay.
We're going to ask you to do a little holiday greeting for our viewers, if you don't mind. And again, you can do that together.
Happy holiday season. What's that, Christmas?
Yeah, it's coming. It's October.
Is it?
Yeah.
Shit, I haven't done any
I
shopping.
know.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if you could sort of just lean in together a little bit, you're a little tighter.
Okay.
Shot.
Yeah. it's just-
Great. Christmas card. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Pete Farndon.
And I'm Martin Chambers.
On behalf of the Pretenders and Music Television, MTV, we wish you all a very happy holiday season.
That's wonderful. Thanks.
The Pretenders are a classic rock success story. They went from being a promising new band at the beginning of 1980 to becoming a musical force who were invited to open for the Rolling Stones on their 81 tour. The Pretenders tour has unfortunately been postponed due to an accidental injury. I have the injured party, of course. That's drummer Martin Chambers, along with bass guitarist, I should say, Pete Farndon, here with me today at MTV. So I guess the first thing, so we can get this out of the way, Martin, is to ask you what exactly went down with the arm, because obviously we hear it from the press and we hear all sorts of different stories, so we'd rather have it straight from you.
Don't say the horse's mouth. Yeah?
I didn't.
Well, it was just like in America, you've got hotels that don't have opening windows, you know.
Yes.
And like in England, every hotel you go, you can open a window. It's quite a normal thing. Well, I was trying to open a window that used to open. You know, 10 years ago you could open the window, but 5 coats of paint since, and it's like stuck. So there's me trying to open this window, and one of the things where you like hold on to just came out, and I was really having a go at it, and it just my arm went through the window. That was that.
So you
And
should
it
have used a chair just like any other rock musician.
Well, I did, you know, in New York on the first tour, but you know.
I'm sorry. We lost audio there for a second, and I hate to do this, but we're going to have to ask the question again. This is important for us to have it, so sorry, JJ. Okay.
What's wrong, young Lawrence?
Get it again. Here it comes.
Is everybody sounding all right, young Lawrence?
You don't need the intro again, just the first question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, ready, Ken?
What exactly happened?
So we can get it exactly as it happened, Martin. Can you tell us what happened to your arm?
Yeah, we were in Philadelphia at the time, and the hotels in America, you can't open the windows. Some of them are completely sealed, you know. In England, you just, if you want a breath of fresh air, you open up the window. Here they give you like a $200 air conditioning unit, and you should be happy. But this window was an opening window, but there was coats of paint on it, and nobody had ever opened it. I was trying to open it, and my hand sort of like, I was pulling really hard, and the catch that I was holding on trying to pull it up came out of the frame, and my hand sort of went through. Bang, you know, and all of a sudden it was red. And that was it, you know.
What he should have done, all he had to do was come in and ask me just to put a chair through it, the way most musicians open windows, but Martin knows better.
No, that's the easy way, Pete.
What are the prospects for a full recovery at this point?
The situation is that luckily no tendons were completely severed. Just the one in the middle there has gone half through, which means it's going to mend, but it's going to take 6 weeks of complete, you know, leave it where it is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, and my jeans have got buttons on, you know, and you never have any idea
That's
what
why I'm
hell
here.
that's like.
Whenever he wants to go to the bathroom, I'm the one who has to undo his trousers. I'm his nurse from now on. I used to be a bass player, but now No.
I flew my wife over just so she can do the buttons up. So
I'm not his wife,
everything's
by
all
the
right.
way. Just in case anybody thought. But
Listen, we had heard rumors that there was possibility of you finding another drummer to complete the tour. Was that ever really true, or is that
No.
just hearsay?
no, that's absolutely and unequivocally out of the question. There's no way that we could replace this man because he's the only guy that can...
Is that you, Pete?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me. Look, here I am. No, nobody could replace Martin. I mean, he's too big a part of the show. I mean, he's not just a drummer. In the way that I'm just a bass player, he's not just a
Yeah,
drummer.
but you're not just a bass player either. Listen
They
to
can
the
replace
solo
me. I mean, you know, you could do my job, but nobody could do Martin.
Yeah, it's very nice actually. Carmine Appice rang up from Los Angeles and he heard obviously and offered his services, which was really nice of him.
Yeah.
Because I met the guy a couple of times. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, you and Carmen, that's true. How about plans to resume the tour as far as making up the dates that I'm sure you've had to cancel?
Well, it's all being done at this moment with Premier, who's our agents over here, Premier Talent, and they're rescheduling things, and we'll probably be straight back to New York around January.
Right after the holidays?
Yeah, so as soon as this is sorted out, we'll be doing dates in England, which are already set up, and then straight back here.
If he was okay.
I think one of the things that I noticed in the very first tour, like I was telling you previously, is that when you first came around, obviously Chrissy was getting an awful lot of attention pointed her way, but when I saw you guys take the stage, it was just as you were referring to him, and even jokingly saying you couldn't replace him, but you really couldn't. I felt the unit was really so tight, you know, and really cohesive.
It's
You know,
got a lot to do with the fact that we're, you know, like a local band. Me, Martin, and Jimmy, the guitar player, James. We're all from the same town. You know, it's not like, you know, we're just a bunch of musicians who were auditioned to come into this band. You know, I met Chrissy, and you know, we thought we'd stick the band together. And I said, I know where I can find a couple of guys, and we, you know, because we're from the same place, it makes a lot of difference. We talk the same language.
Do you feel you've had enough time to develop, like, say, a sound that's distinctly the Pretenders?
Oh yeah, I think so now. Whereas the first album did, if you compare the first album with the second album, then the first one did sound a lot like a lot of songs stuck together. You know that, you know, Chrissy had obviously written them over the last 10 years, and it did sound just like that, like a lot of songs stuck together. Whereas the last album, as far as I'm concerned, does sound like this band. It's got a band sound.
It's definitely true.
Recognisable.
And you've kind of obviously achieved tremendous success practically. I hate to use the word overnight because obviously it hasn't been overnight, but in a very short time compared to a lot of other rock and roll bands. Why do you think that happened?
Well, it's, I don't know. Maybe
It's a combination of a lot of things,
we're
really. isn't it?
genius.
It's like, you know, that, you know, and it's just like the girl singer syndrome, you know, and all that, which I never even thought of. When I first met Chrissy and heard the demos that they'd already done, to me it wasn't, you know, that situation. It was just another member of the band. But, you know, the way it comes across in the media and stuff, I mean, it's an ideal sort of looking band, and everything just fell into place, and it was the right time and all that sort of stuff.
We've been very successful compared to a lot of English bands. I mean, there's a lot of English bands. The competition in England now is probably higher than it's ever been before. There's and as well as that, there's a big gulf between what's going down in England and what's going down over here, and we've been very lucky to be able to bridge that gap. And I think a lot of it's got to do with we're not too image conscious. I mean, you can probably tell that we're not too new romantic.
No, I can see you're not that.
You know,
Gingham sling yet, you know?
that's about the
Hell.
high fashion point of the brand at the moment. Martin's got a clean sling on.
Best they could do.
But we're not, you know, we're not tied down to one image, which means that, as you were saying earlier, we get like a very big cross section in the audience. You know, you can get people who've just heard the single and think, you know, Brass in Pocket is roughly what the band's about. Then you've heard people who might have heard tunes like Precious or some of the other stuff on the FM stations, if they play it. I'm not sure.
Yes,
But you know
they
what I
do.
mean? You know, there's a lot of different people, got different angles.
Does that
about
still
them.
continue this time around?
Pardon?
Does the diversity in the audience, does that still continue this time around as far as touring?
Oh yeah, oh for sure. It's great. You know, it's one of the things I'm very pleased with.
Yeah,
And it all comes back to the fact we haven't got one image. You know?
yeah, it's a strong point in the band, I felt. You know, getting back to the demos I heard that the band did before I joined the band, or before I came about. It was interesting for me because there was like a variation of material. It wasn't just like straight 4/4 stuff.
No,
there was
right.
different time signatures, different moods of music. You know, a bit of reggae here, a bit of a ballad here. You know, there are lots of rock bands play heavy music, but that's all they do. You know, we do different sorts of things in our own way,
We're a variety
Yeah.
act, really, I think. aren't
That's
we?
right. You know, I'm an out-of-work juggler. You know,
Yeah.
Are you really?
absolutely.
I'm
I'm still looking for
Definitely
work.
an out-of-work juggler at the
Throwing
moment.
sticks around.
I got a pretty good act with one hand. But it's not as good as the full act, you know, with juggling kittens, you know.
After the success of that first album, and say the first single, "To Stop Your Sobbing," and "Brass and Pocket," there was a great deal of pressure put on you to come up with another quick release. Because the band happened just like overnight, and I know that record companies can apply a lot of pressure if something like that happens. I was wondering if this applied to you.
Well, we got a pretty good we used to have a pretty good relationship with our record company. In that, you know, they gave us a bit of slack. You know, they knew that we could deliver if they didn't try, you know, telling us what to do. So they didn't, and we delivered. I mean, if we'd have messed around and not come up with the goods, then that's when they can start piling the pressure on. Until we do that, then you know, they'll leave us alone. I hope.
How do you balance, which is one of the amazing things, seriously, and I honestly mean it straight from my heart, how do you balance the quality that you come out with the commercial potential when you're working on a song? I mean, that amazes me because you achieve this consistently.
Yeah, I don't think it's a conscious thing, you know. You don't go in the studio with thinking things like that, you know. You just do the songs that have been written, probably mainly by Chrissy, and they're changed by us, and it's worked together. You don't really think of, like, is this going to be commercial or is this not commercial? You just do the song and do to the song what it deserves, you know. Like on I Go to Sleep, there's like a French horn at the beginning because it deserves it. There's a few horns on
That's going to be the new
Louis
single,
Louis.
by the way.
I Go to Sleep is?
Yeah.
I Go to
It's pretty, because it's that haunting of the French horns.
It's
Now,
different. It's different to anything we've released as a single so far.
so you work, when you're in the studio like that with Chris Thomas on the, you're side by side with him. It's not like something where you give him the product and you walk away.
Oh no.
Quite. That's it. Everybody's working.
So it was the band's idea to come up with the French horns on that particular track.
Well, you know, you know, there's four people in the band and the producer, and he's just as important as anybody else in the band when it comes to, you know, coming up with ideas for what might sound good on any particular track.
Now, your first single, of course, was produced by Nick Lowe.
Yeah.
All right, and
Basher.
yeah, and then of course since then you worked with Chris Thomas, another well-known producer.
Yeah.
How do you find for you, especially since you're in the studio with them?
You couldn't. We've been very lucky with that because you couldn't find two more diverse producers. I mean, Nick Lowe, they don't call him Basher for nothing. You know, bang it down and bash it out. That's his motto. And we did that first single, Stop Your Sobbing, and the B-side, The Wait, all of 3 years ago. Oh my God. Yeah, we did that in 12 hours.
Is that right?
And that's the way he works. And you know, you can tell. You know, listen to the track. You can see that. You know, the band were working fast, and it sounds good. There's a good atmosphere. Whereas Chris Thomas works in a completely different way. You know, he's very meticulous, but he still comes up with the results.
Now, this one thing I found was odd, because you can tell me if you hear this as well. In that first album, I thought the sound was very, very clean. The second album has almost like somewhere between a muddier sound and a wall of sound. You know, that Phil Spector-ish wall of sound approach, and yet it's the same producer. Where you and actually, that I found an odd thing about it. I found that was strictly on the first side, with the exception of one track where you had that kind of wall of sound feeling to it. Where the second side was a lot cleaner.
We are talking to a very perceptive man here, you know, Martin.
This man is a very perceptive
Very
man. Do you think we ought to tell him the truth?
Yeah. What is it?
Now, you see, we went to Paris.
That's it.
First of all, that's it. To start recording the album, the second album. There were several reasons. One of them was like a drum thing, because it was a very lively studio. It's Pathé Marconi in Paris. The Stones have done a lot of work there. And initially, I had a few words with Chris about it, because he's really into drums, and he put a few effects on the drums as well. So, you know, there are little extra bits and pieces, you know. I can't remember the name of the machine now, but...
Harmonizer.
Yeah, it was a Publicin, thing called a Publicin, which is used on the drums. And so there would be a difference, because I think mainly the Paris stuff is the first side, isn't it?
Yeah, the stuff that was recorded in Paris ended up... I don't think it was designed. I can't remember when we stuck the actual listing together. It wasn't supposed to be, you know, this side is French and this side is English, but most of the tracks that were recorded, in fact, all of them besides one, Louis Louis, which is on the second side, all the ones that did end up on the first side were recorded in Paris, which is a different sound. It was a different studio.
But then I was actually right, then, because that's right, because I noticed there was that one track on the second side. Would
you can hear it,
that same kind of sound to it.
That's it.
You know, speaking of Louis Louis, did you ever once cross your mind when you were recording that the people might become confused as to that being the old rock and roll standard.
That's what Chrissy had in mind when she put it together, I think.
It used to be called Louis Louis Had His Day. You know,
Full
Goodbye
title.
Louis Louis.
Yeah.
But you mean you'd wanted to kind of, in a way, throw the audience off with that title?
Well,
Not really. It's just about the Kingsmen's old song.
yeah,
The opening of it sounds like Wilson Pickett's Midnight Hour.
Yeah.
Oh, does it?
Stop and listen to it again next time around.
Oh, it's only because
It is, right,
That-
quite, yeah. And it's like, references, all sorts of references back to that
To
period.
that period.
you
Thank
know.
you, that answers it.
And that's
yeah.
it, really. And we worked pretty well.
There's a reference in there to Woolly Bully as well.
You're right, that's right, it is.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
don't know what it is, but there is one. Or at least I read that in the paper the other day.
Yeah, we haven't heard the album, you see. Really.
There's also that little tearing sound in Message of Love that I was wondering, is that meant to be there? With the guitar break starts everything, and yet it...
In the middle, you mean?
that's a
almost
break.
like a cheer?
Well, it's almost like a tearing, almost like a jet plane taking off, but not really. And it sounds almost like a fault, but I wasn't sure.
There's 2 points in Message of Love. It's quite a story to that number, actually. It's quite a story to that number, because we've never really gone into the studio without any rehearsal and recorded a song. And we have done that once, and that was Message of Love.
Is that right?
And we never rehearsed it. Chrissy had this idea almost formulated and finished in her mind, and she likes to come to us when she has it finished in her mind, right? So, but this time she hadn't really finished it, and we just like rehearsed it already set up in the studio, and it was on tape in 2 hours, basically.
But there were a lot of sound effects on it that we rubbed out in the end, but some of them stayed.
Yeah.
Which is probably the noise you're talking about.
No,
I think we took a microphone into the Champs-Elysees and recorded a few accidents. I don't know if you've ever driven in Paris.
Yeah, I've not driven, but I've been there. I know what you're talking about.
Nobody drives in Paris.
We recorded a few Frenchmen smashing into each other, and I think that's the noise. I can't...
Sacre bleu.
Of course, I'm sure you're well aware there was a little controversy generated when the new album came out, and then people found that Message of Love and Talk of the Town were on the album. Why was that?
Well, I mean, people could complain if those tracks had been on there and the whole thing hadn't added up to more than about 35 minutes. But the thing it must be about 50 minutes long.
Yeah. Like the first album's well over 50 minutes. They're like additions. That's the idea. You put them on, but you only put them on if they are going on as additions. Lots of albums are released are just over 30 minutes long.
That's true.
Both albums have been about 50 minutes. So it's not as if you were like sticking them on as fillers, because that's not true at all.
Why was it such a long wait between the first 2 albums?
Well,
we heard rumors. I just want you to clarify something for us.
Like I was saying earlier, when people make the first record, it's like 10 years worth of writing. You've got all that time before you get the big record deal and the big American tour or whatever to write enough material for an album. For the second album, you got 3 months. And Chrissy, there's no way we're going to release inferior material, inferior songs, and Chrissy likes to take a long time writing. If she didn't, then the material wouldn't be the quality that we believe it to be good. So we thought, well, we either record the thing in 3 months and it's not as good as we want it to be, which is no way that's going to happen, or we take, however long it took to do. We weren't in the studio that long. Mainly we were just off the road, giving Chrissy enough time to come up with the material.
Do you think you'll have a live album soon?
Well,
I don't know. Actually, I've heard lots of bands that just don't come across so well on record live. There are lots of bands that were at their peak live. Bands in the past like Mott the Hoople were so good live. Well, coming to make an album in the studio and live is completely different.
As far as the live album goes, though, we're going to record these shows in New York that
we are not doing.
That we're supposed to be doing this week. They're all going to be recorded. But we'll do it in January when we come back.
Your videos are as distinctive as your music. Do you plan these yourselves? Do you all participate in that?
We got together with the director. We're just about to do another one before I go to sleep this week. We're going to do it here in New York somehow. I'm not sure how we're going to get over this one, but a guy called Don Letts, Don Letts, he's a London film director. He works with The Clash a lot.
Did you write those little mini bios that you do at the beginning of Tattooed Love Boys as far as that video is concerned? Yeah.
Oh dear.
Did you write those?
Sort
Sort of.
of quickly.
It was very off the cuff.
Thought of something to do, and it ended up being quite British. So over here it went down quite well, But it was a little bit like in a way. But
Yeah. One other thing I wanted, because sometimes when Peter and your bass, I picked up some jazz riffs I felt. Outside of rock and roll musicians, were there anybody that influenced you, like say that bass players in jazz?
I don't know, you know, I don't... First of all, I don't get much time to listen to music anymore, because when you're on the road, you know, you listen to the commercials on the TV, and that's about the only musical influences you get. But as we're all pushing 30, I mean, we can't say that we're influenced by musicians that are around these days. I mean, we all go back to the 60s.
No, I don't mean now, but I mean, say before this all happened for you, when you did have the time.
Influences?
As far as, yeah, outside of rock and roll, were there...
It's difficult to say who influences who. I mean, the first stuff that I played when I was like formulating this talent was blues. I mean, I just used to listen to old blues records and see if I could
Elmore James
work
and
it.
that
Sort of
stuff.
stuff.
Well, listen, thank you guys for coming by, and I hope that the tour happens again in January, because I was selfishly disappointed, because I was looking forward to seeing you in this city.
I hope that everybody that bought tickets holds on to them, because we'll be back to do this tour no matter what.
Apparently,
as long as nobody else.
Yeah, I'm going to get this back to match.
Here it is, folks. This is it.
Back to Match Fitness. Hello,
Show
there.
everybody. This is his real hand.
We'll get it together.
Pete Farndon, Martin Chambers from the Pretenders. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay.